Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm, YouTube, BSN app, wherever you guys are jumping in here. Thanks for joining us on a Thursday afternoon. Got James Grande with me today to talk some Thursday night football, to talk some postseason baseball, and some college football week 7. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing well. Happy Thursday, Servo. Happy Thursday to all that celebrate this fine day.
I celebrate.
Celebrate, yes. 2 days away. 2 days away. Some would call it Thirsty Thursday. I'm assuming that's what you are alluding to. But yes, 2 days away from the highly anticipated weekend. Well, maybe 4 day weeks people have these days. Maybe they're 1 day away. You never know. Yeah. But happy to be here as always. It's a great day to be great, and I'm just going to keep the bad puns rolling throughout the show. So, let's get it.
Keep them going. At least it's not tomorrow's Friday the 13th, so you're not on that show. So
that's good. Good news. That's great news.
We got Thursday night football, Broncos-Chiefs to break down, give some best bets and picks out. If you guys got any of your own, definitely throw them in the chat here. We'll see where people are leaning. I know yesterday's show we had Smokey the Cat jump in with I think a Pacheco anytime touchdown, I think was his pick. So if you got that or anything else, definitely throw it in here. We'll see if we're agreeing on any of these picks. In a little bit, we will talk some Braves-Phillies game 4 tonight, some picks and props for that game. And then, I'll give out some college football week 7 picks as usual for the weekend's games for Saturday's slate. Let's dive right into Broncos-Chiefs, though. 11 is the spread here, as you can see on the screen. 47 is the over-under for this game. I'll be honest, I don't have a lean either way on the spread or the total. Like, I was going back and forth on both of these. The spread's big, though, for like a divisional matchup, especially on a Thursday night. So if I had a lean, I'd probably go Broncos. But obviously the Chiefs' offense against this Denver defense could be a nightmare situation. So I'm just staying away. But how about you? Any leans on the game? I know we both got a bunch of props for this game, but any leans on kind of how this game goes?
So Broncos have covered in 3 straight Mahomes-led games, and obviously, but like, it's just such a different circumstance, and it's hard to say that with any confidence, just given what Denver's defense is doing right now. I mean, dude, you look at Denver's defense. I mean, 31 points to the Jets with Zach Wilson. Sorry, Adam. I know that I'm diving right into it, but 31 points. I know the defense was a large factor into the scoring of the points, but 31 points to the Jets, led by Zach Wilson. 28 points to the Bears, and that was all in the first half. Justin Fields didn't do much in the second half. We know about the Dolphins game. I don't need to bore you there. But 35 against Washington, and we've seen Sam Howell kind of struggle the last couple weeks, at least that offense in general. So they've allowed 31 points or more in 4 straight games, and now you're going up against the defending champs. And I know the Travis Kelce news that we just got news. He's expected to play, heavily taped ankle, per Schefter. I don't want to, I know him and Rap Sheet are always they're like Woj versus Shams, in the NBA.
I know. So then you got Tom Pelissero jumping in with random ones too.
Yeah. So Shefty said Kelce is expected to play 4 minutes ago per sources. So I want to say my lean is Denver plus 11. The Chiefs money line is hard to bet if you're a moderate to small gambler, because you're not obviously winning anything minus 650. But I think my lean is the over in this game, just because Denver's defense hasn't been good, and I do think it hasn't been Russell Wilson's fault thus far. I think Russell Wilson's actually played fairly well to this point. Not all not totally like Russell Wilson, vintage Russell, but my lean would. I'd stay away from the spread, honestly. If I were to bet anything, it'd be the over 47. It's really hard to trust Denver's defense to stay in a game against Kansas City. That's what it boils down to for me.
Seriously. Yeah, I mean, to the point of leaning Denver against the spread, if anything, Mahomes is against the spread record when he's like favored by like more than a touchdown is actually not that good over his career. He, whether it's the Chiefs, kind of taking their foot off the gas, or Mahomes maybe just being a little overvalued in the market, talking spread wise, I think it all kind of plays into a part for here. But yeah, I can't confidently back the Broncos with how rough their defense is, and just, you're trusting Russell Wilson if they're down 2 scores, if they're down 14 touchdowns, to try to cover that spread and, make it a one possession game. It's kind of tough late. So I'll stay away. But we both have some props on this game at least. And I think that's like a good way to do to get, kind of get some action on these, Thursday night or Monday night games. If you don't want to take a spread or a total, just kind of root on some individual players. So that's what we'll do here. What do you got for one of your plays tonight?
So I'll just double up here because I got the same guy for 2 different props. Isaiah Pacheco over 74.5 rushing yards is the first one, minus 135 over on DraftKings. There's a lot of directions you can go, and this is why like backing the Broncos just feels so bad tonight. They have allowed the most rushing yards in football. They've allowed the most rushing touchdowns in football. They've allowed the most passing yards in football. They've allowed the third most passing yards and the most passing touchdowns in football. So like there's a lot of directions you could go. I ultimately went with the rushing of Isaiah Pacheco, who has looked really, really good for Kansas City of late. And I know that there's always going to be the mix in of Jerick McKinnon, and I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also going to be involved, but this is Pacheco's team, or Pacheco's backfield rather. And you've kind of seen that as he's kind of gotten healthier, because he entered the year with the ankle and wasn't fully healthy. But now you've seen 15, 20, and 16 carries over the last 3 games for Pacheco. And 2 games ago against the Jets, a team that has been gashed on the ground, 115 yards. This just feels like a really good spot for Pacheco rushing yards to go over here. Miami's allowed a 100-yard rusher in 3 straight games, including the Devin Achane 200-yard game. So, 400 plus over the last 3. I should say almost 500, because Mostert had 90 yards in that game as well. So almost 500 yards allowed rushing in the last 3 games alone for this Denver defense. So I like the Pacheco rushing yards. I also like Pacheco to score. And this actually feels, I was going to go with a lot of Pacheco props. And then on the flip side, I was looking at a lot of Mahomes unders, because I do think there's going to, this game is going to be concentrated on the ground. Now, Denver can't defend the pass either. So like pick your poison kind of thing. Like picking against Mahomes does not feel good in any scenario, but Pacheco has scored in 3 straight games. And again, like it directly correlates to the fact that he's been on the field a lot, getting a lot of volume, 15 plus touches in 3 straight games. And, Broncos again have allowed the most rushing touchdowns in football. So I like Pacheco anytime touchdown. I also like his yards to go over 74.5. If you want to parlay that, you get a little better odds. Don't mind that either.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Pacheco props, because this matchup is one of the best, if not the best, in the whole league for opposing running backs. And Pacheco, I know, McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are involved, but I feel like Pacheco is the lead guy when they're looking to run the ball, especially on early downs. I think, we got Rob Vandekreek in the YouTube chat here talking about the weather forecast with winds about 20 plus miles per hour. If that would affect the total, yes, I do think it affects the total, and I think it affects some of these props. The Chiefs and the Broncos might kind of lean more on the ground if some of these passes are affected by the wind. So I think that plays right into Pacheco probably getting more work. especially if, we've seen the Chiefs outside of Kelsey just kind of struggle a little bit passing wise. Mahomes still trying to find his rhythm with some of these guys. And I feel like it could, if they struggle a little bit early, we could see a more of a game plan for Pacheco. So, but to Rob's question about the total, it's actually gone down a little bit. 47 is the total right now, but it was 47.5, I think, earlier today or last night. I think earlier in the week it was a little higher as well. So I think more people are leaning towards the under here. And if, again, I'm not having a pick on the total, but I think if I was leaning one way or the other, it would be on the under, especially just, prime time, night games over the past, this year, but also the past like 3 years. It's been trending towards the under. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's like 60% or so to the under over like the past, few years. And that includes this season. So those trends too, just kind of point to a lower scoring game, especially with, Thursday night football. We know how that kind of goes with some of these offenses, maybe just being a little iffy, coming on the short week. So, but yeah, the wind is definitely a factor. And, this weekend, tomorrow's show, me and Howard will be talking about some Sunday picks for this week 6. Later in the show here, I'll be giving out some college football picks, and the weather across the country is definitely an impact on some of these totals, some of these games, because I know in the Northeast, there's a lot of, wind and rain expected, some cooler temperatures. It's October weather. It's just kind of what we deal with. And we might see some windy conditions here in Kansas City. So it might impact the passing game. I'll stick with the Chiefs here. I just mentioned how it might impact the passing game, but I like Jerick McKinnon over his receiving yards tonight, over 13.5 receiving yards. I just think this line is really low for a guy that's had 18 plus receiving yards in 3 of the last 4 games. We know Pacheco is the early down, lead ball carrier for the Chiefs, but McKinnon's out there on passing snaps. He's out there for third downs. And I just feel like they're going to try to game plan him to get some, whether it's a screens or just maybe a little easy completions for Mahomes. I guess the weather could impact this too, to get a little bit more, underneath stuff for McKinnon. But I'm just looking at him to go over this prop. The Broncos, you mentioned all their struggles defensively, and definitely in the rushing game, but as you mentioned, in the passing game too. Again, one of the worst defenses in the league, and especially against opposing running backs coming out of the backfield catching passes. They've allowed on total this year through 5 games 256 receiving yards to opposing running backs. That's an average of 51 per game. And at least one running back in every single game against the Broncos this year has had at least 14 receiving yards. And it's been 8 total running backs in these 5 games. So McKinnon is the main guy catching passes out of the Kansas City backfield. For what it's worth, last year against Denver, check out these 2 stat lines for McKinnon for the Chiefs when they played the Broncos. He had 7 catches for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns in one of those games. The other game, he had 5 catches for 52 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I'm not throwing that out here, but I would look at McKinnon's anytime touchdown prop based on that track record. We saw him score twice earlier this season, get in the end zone twice in one game. So you could look at him to score 2+ touchdowns. Why not? But I do think the receiving yards line is just a little low because with McKinnon in this Chiefs offense going back to all last year. He's gone over this more often than not. I think last year he went over it in 11 of 17 regular season games. So, I just think it's a little bit low here for McKinnon.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned he's going to be in third downs. He's also going to be in every 2-minute drill. All if they decide to go tempo, it's going to be with McKinnon on the field likely. And he's just a good player, dude. So
really good. Yeah. Andy Reid does a really good job of just kind of getting him in the right, matchups. His, game to game, like for fantasy, he's really tough to play in your fantasy lineup, but he's always capable of a huge game every now and then. So,
yeah, I mean, what does he have? He has 4 double-digit receptions already this year, and all but the Jets game, he had multiple receptions. So good trend heading into this game. Weird that this line is set so low considering it's been 3 of 4 and there's wind, which means average depth of target just likely lower. And considering how bad Kansas City's receiving core has been, because they've been terrible. I mean, they have the most drops in the league. Like after maybe the Ravens after last week, but the Chiefs had been going into before last week with the most drops. So definitely interesting to see, and I like that quite a bit. I think that's a pretty easy click there, Servo.
Listen, if we get this over in one catch, then I can just rest easy the rest of the night. That's fine. You mentioned Kelsey is going to be active for tonight. If you guys have been trying to monitor that, we got a report that he will play tonight, and you got a pick for Travis Kelce here.
Look, I'm going to just say it, okay? Look, I'm going to say it. I don't know where you fall on the Taylor Swift saga, okay? I think it's great, and I think it's great not because I'm a Swiftie. I think it's great because my wife, who is a Swiftie, likes football more now, right? And I think that's what we all want. We all want our significant others to like more things that we like, right? And so look.
Before you go any further, I'm right on par with you with all that what you just said.
Okay, like I'm just saying, like I think it's great. Now I think they need to figure out that like every time the ball is thrown to Travis Kelce, we don't need to pan to Taylor Swift. I think we need to moderation. Like there needs to be like some flexibility. But primetime game in Kansas City, we know that's likely going to be there, right? Only game in town.
I just Googled it to check, and we got a TMZ report that Taylor Swift will be attending tonight.
I mean, look, the script writes itself, right? Like, there's the NFL script commercials everywhere. There's Arian Foster giving the best podcast take I've ever seen about, like, the NFL being scripted. He's going over all of his props tonight. We're going to force feed Travis Kelce no matter what. He's going to score if you want to bet an anytime touchdown. He has the highest odds for an anytime touchdown tonight. But I like the receiving yards. Denver, again, they've been gashed. I mean, you could just list up and down the list. It's like, okay, they've allowed the most rushing yards, the third most passing yards. Receivers are dominating. Tight ends are dominating too. The fourth most yards this year, 316 in the first 5 games. Only Houston, Detroit, and the Rams have been worse. They've already allowed 3 touchdowns to the position. He's hit this number now in 2 of his last 3 games. He's peppered with targets, 8+ in all 4 games. And the one thing we really haven't seen from him yet, and maybe the ankle is a little bit of the concern. Maybe was it hamstring, right? Previously is a little bit of the reason. Travis Kelce is a player that can get down the field, but at the tight end position, like we don't see. And he hasn't really done that yet this year. This Denver defense allows Travis Kelce to stretch the field, and we've seen it time and time again with how badly they've been gashed. So I'm going to go to over 66.5 receiving yards here for Travis Kelce. And look, he has 6.5 reception line on DraftKings. It's actually plus money if you wanted to get on that. I think he goes over that as well because, like the Jerick McKinnon point, if there are winds affecting it, where is every third down? If Mahomes is not checking it down to running back, every third down is going to Travis Kelce. And every short yardage situation is going to Travis Kelce tonight. He's hit this now in 2 of his last 3 games again, like as he's gotten healthier. Came back in that Minnesota game, dominated. So give me a Kelce over yards. I think he's going to score. I bet you that's going to be bet heavily tonight, the touchdown prop. But I think the reception prop, if you do want plus money on something, plus 105, obviously not like extremely juiced, but plus 105 over 6.5 receptions feels good as well.
Yeah, you could throw the Kelce anytime touchdown and parlay that with your Pacheco anytime touchdown. I think both can get in the end zone tonight. Our producer, Adam Bernard, letting us know in the chat that he's very concerned about the attendance of Taylor Swift tonight. So
he should be. Dude, honestly, though, like he says that, but I bet you there's some keyboard warriors out there that are smashing their keyboard. They're like, oh, now that I found that out, I'm not watching that game tonight.
I was one of them. I Googled it, and it was one of the first results immediately. So, congrats to TMZ for getting that scoop, as they always do.
So I just want to say that, I'm playing in a, local men's league ice hockey game at 10:30 Pacific tonight. And I'm glad it's at 10:30 Pacific, because then there's no chance I'll miss any of watching Taylor watch the game on the West Coast. So if it was like a 9:00 game or like a 7:30 game, I might have had to say no. I might have had to pass.
You're saying you don't want to see her chest bumping after Travis Kelce scores
a touchdown? I'm
touchdown?
saying, like, I would have passed on filling in for a men's league hockey team if it was an earlier game, because I would not want to miss whatever Taylor Swift is doing. If she's somewhere and I can watch whatever it is she's doing, I want to experience it too.
So you're a Swiftie.
No, I realized, what's the point in fighting it? Like, at first I fought it. You can check the tape on both this show and Getting Buzzed. But I feel you can't. It's like the riptide. Like, don't fight against it. Swim to the side and get out of it. That's what I'm trying to do here.
There's a lot of pettiness coming through this broadcast here.
I can't tell at all. Actually, I don't think so at all. I think it's very opposite. I think Adam is very sincere with everything.
The fact that neither of you know which way I'm going means I've done my job.
I'm more interested in the late night hockey game. That's
what's the spread? What's the over under on the score for that one?
On the men's league game, over under probably 4.5.
All right.
What's your points total prop? Over under 1.5.
I am not a point. I am a guy. I'm more of a defensive guy than an offense. I will never lead your team in scoring. I may shut down your leading scorer, but I will never lead you in scoring.
We got an enforcer on the panel.
I was going to say, over under half a fight you get into tonight.
Under.
Under? Okay.
I got to work tomorrow.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, it's not worth it against some jabroni on the other side.
Here he has to fight all the Swifties off on Twitter. So no fights in real life.
I need somewhere in my life. I need no fighting. So ironically, it's on a hockey rink.
Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm going another pick here. Let's go to the Broncos side of things. And I've had success on this Thursday nights, the Monday nights, whenever these single games, kind of dive into some of the defensive guys on both sides and see who could get more tackles, whatever. And I'm going there here. Josie Jewell for the Broncos, one of the linebackers. It's basically him and Alex Singleton getting a lot of the tackles for the Broncos. And we're talking about how Pacheco should get a lot of work. There's going to be plenty of tackles, if shorter completions to Kelce, shorter completions to McKinnon, and whoever else. There's going to be a lot of tackles up for grabs, as has been the case for a lot of Chiefs games. Chiefs have allowed multiple double-digit tacklers now in 4 straight games. That's taking out their season opener against the Lions. But 4 straight since then, double-digit tacklers, at least 2 in every game. The Jets and Bears both had their 2 inside linebackers go for 10-plus total tackles against the Chiefs. And I feel like that's a similar matchup here, where if the Chiefs are going to be kind of leaning on the run game more, as they did against both the Jets and Bears, then I feel like we're going to have a similar script here. So Alex Singleton, kind of the top candidate to get the tackles for the Broncos, but the Jewell is going to be right there too. And he's been over this line just once so far this year, but it's kind of you got to look at some of his games, because he only played like 19 snaps in week 3, left early with a hip injury, sat out a game, now has come back, but I think he's fully healthy now. Last year, Jewell had at least 8 total tackles plus assists over this prop in 10 of his 13 games last year. So this is a guy that was him and Singleton all last year, just eating up tackles. Give me the same thing here in this spot. So give me his over 7.5 tackles plus assists.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, it is game script that the Chiefs are going to, lead. They have the 10th most rushing attempts in football this year. So we know Isaiah Pacheco's likeness to run up the middle and just like get hit and just look so aggressive, because he is the most aggressive runner in football. You can't. There's no one.
He might break like 3 attempted tackles by Jewell too, but
yeah, I mean, listen, the guy, even when he gets tackled, he comes up running. He's still running forward. He gets tackled and then runs forward. Like he's a psychopath. But Kansas City, 10th most rushing attempts in football. I love that. I think your boy Jewell's going to get bunch of looks up the middle tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a 7.5 is kind of low for a guy
Yep.
that, as I mentioned, can get double-digit tackles, total tackles. So, all right, how about you wrap us up with another Broncos pick, right?
Yeah, Broncos Nation, let's ride. We're going Russell Wilson. No, I did not. I did have Subway last night. No, I did not get the Danger Witch. No, I never tried the Danger Witch. I don't know if you have, Servo or Adam. I don't know if you guys dabbled into that those dangerous waters, but I do like the Russell Wilson completion prop, and I know there's when obviously factoring into things. And Russ is someone who has driven the ball down the field this year. He has the fourth highest average attempt yards per attempt this year. He's 11th in completion yards after that. But he's getting Greg Dulcich back this evening. So we have a full complement of weapons. And we've seen a couple times this year where, they have a good overall offense. Again, I don't think the offense has necessarily been the problem this year. Like even without Javonte Williams healthy last week, they ran the ball well against the Jets with Jaleel McLaughlin and Samaje Perine. But he's hit this in only twice this year, or 3 times, I should say. 3 of the 5 games. The game against Miami, he had to throw 38 times. The game against the Raiders, he threw 34 times. Look, the writing is kind of on the wall at this point for Denver in this game. They are 11-point dogs. They're not going to be able to stop the Chiefs, and they're going to have to throw the ball. And again, I do like Russell Wilson this year, the way that he's played. He has multi-touchdowns in 4 of the 5 games. And I just think with how this game is going to play out, they're going to need to drive the ball down the field, and that's going to start with Russell Wilson's arm. So I like the over 20.5 completions. I also think, Russell Wilson over 1.5 touchdowns is very live, considering he's done this in 4 or 5 games. I know Kansas City does have a good secondary. Snead leading the charge has been awesome, but I do like a lot of Russell Wilson props. If he was more consistent, I looked at the rushing and pass yards prop time for Russell Wilson pretty heavily. I wish he was rushing the ball a little more consistently because he's looked good when running the football this year. He just hasn't done it a lot. He has multiple 15-plus yard rushes already. I like a lot of Russell Wilson props tonight, but the leader in the clubhouse is 20.5, over 20.5 completions.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that plays right into kind of the similar game script that I think we're both seeing here for the Broncos, where they're going to be trailing. They're going to be having to pass more. But the weather could lead to more shorter completions either way. So I might stay away from his passing yards prop, but I do like your call on the completions. I think that has a better chance of hitting. So, all right. So those are some Broncos-Chiefs best bets and picks. Definitely check out over on FantasyAlarm.com. Just went live Howard Bender's best bets article for tonight's game. He throws out some props, and he's got a pick on the spread, the total. So definitely check that out. You get that with the All Pro subscription as well. Let's now flip to let's keep the college or let's keep the football talk going, and now talk some college football. And if you think you know college football, prove it. Compete against me in Servo 7 college football totals competition this weekend, powered by BettorEdge. Make the most correct picks in this free competition and get paid out. Enter by signing up on BettorEdge at bettoredge.com/better. Use promo code BETTOR to get $20 when you sign up and verify. No deposit required. Easy competition where you just, there's about 20 games and you pick 7 games that you like over or under. No spreads, no winners, just over or under the totals for these games. So easy enough to enter, and it's free, and you get $20 when you sign up for BettorEdge. One of my top pick for this contest this week for college football week 7. I'm going the under on USC Notre Dame. It's at 62.5 over on BettorEdge, but I like it enough that I'm giving out 60.5 here, which is where you could find it at some sports books right now. So give me the under overall in this game. USC has yet to face a defense like Notre Dame's. They've kind of walked through their early part of the schedule. They're putting up huge numbers. Caleb Williams lighting it up, but they just have not faced the defense like Notre Dame's, which, we saw them limit Ohio State a couple weeks ago. That was a low-scoring game too. And USC also has not gone on the road like this one at Notre Dame. Their 2 road games were at Arizona State and Colorado, which, they got to stay on the West Coast. Those were 2 kind of lower tier teams.
Whoa!
You talking about Colorado? Lower tier team?
Oh my God. Dion, he heard that. He's going to trademark some, he's going to come back with some comeback and trademark it.
Listen, if my name is in Deion Sanders' mouth, then I did something right. So I'm good with that. So yeah, this is just a tough road environment and defensive matchup for USC. Also, I mentioned, weather. We were talking the Chiefs and NFL games this weekend. There's rain and wind expected for this game. Colder temperatures, too, in the mid-40s for a Saturday night game, too, in South Bend, Indiana. So I just think Notre Dame's going to limit USC enough. And the other side, USC's defense is not good, but Notre Dame's offense is also just kind of rough right now. And it also has not shown up in its 3 toughest games we've seen. They scored 14 against Ohio State, 21 against Duke, and only 20 last week against Louisville. I just think that the offense, they're dealing with some injuries to the wide receiver core. They like to lean on the run game anyway. I feel like they're going to do that to try to keep the ball out of USC's hands and keep this one lower scoring. So, yeah, give me the under in this Notre Dame USC game on Saturday night. And you can find that on BettorEdge as one of the picks for the Servo 7 competition. But also I'm taking that as one of my picks here for this Week 7 slate.
And let's move on to a couple others because we got some Ducks versus some Huskies here, Servo. We got the Oregon Ducks taking on the Washington Huskies. What do you like in that game?
Yeah, it could be a really good game. This might be the best game of this weekend. 2 undefeated teams coming in. Has a lot of implications on who might win the Pac-12 and possibly get to the college football playoff. So this game is a lot of meaning here. And I like the underdogs in this spot. I like Oregon on the road. Not really too scared about that. But if I can get +3, it's at 2.5 some places, but +3, whatever, get a field goal. But either way, I just like Oregon. I think they could win this game outright, honestly. They've just been looking like the more complete team this year. They have the better defense for sure. Washington's defense has looked shaky. And they just faced 2 – got into their Pac-12 schedule, and they look shaky against Cal and Arizona, where both offenses with a tier down or 2 tiers down from what Oregon is. I think Oregon can really have success offensively in this matchup, and Oregon's defense is legit. This is, the former defensive coordinator from Georgia, Dan Lanning, is now the head coach at Oregon, and he's brought that kind of mentality of being like a ferocious defense over to Oregon. I think this is a real contender for the playoff, and I think they can get past Washington here. Oregon also this year, just more battle-tested. They went on the road and survived at Texas Tech earlier this season and comfortably handled Colorado and Stanford in its 2 conference games. I mentioned Washington kind of, they had to get past Cal and Arizona where they let up a lot of points. They really had to outscore those teams to win those. They just haven't faced a team or a defense as good as Oregon. So I think I like the Ducks here. Another just underlying aspect of this, I always look at last year or previous results in these rivalry matchups, these conference matchups. Last year at home, Oregon lost 37-34, but it was a game that was back and forth all the way, where it was like basically the last guy that has the ball is going to win this game. Right. And Oregon lost in a tough way. They had the ball in Washington or in their own territory. We're looking to go maybe down and kick a field goal, win it. They went for it on 4th down in their own territory, did not get it. So Washington had an easy field goal to win at the end of the game. I feel like that result and Oregon losing at home to Washington, to a team that they probably thought they were better than, is a major motivation factor here for Oregon. Now going on the road at Washington, 3-point spread here. I feel like that's just, the 3-point spread is kind of given, Washington the home field, favored, but on a neutral field, Oregon would be favored, I think. So, give me Oregon to win this game. I get the +3 even better, but I do think they can win.
Speaking of bad ways to lose, Miami. Onwards.
And last week I gave out Georgia Tech.
Oh God, that is one
Did
of
not
the
give
worst.
out the money line, gave out the spread, but wow.
Yeah. Wow, indeed. ACC matchup between Pittsburgh and you have Notre Dame and Louisville on this. So Louisville coming off the upset of Notre Dame. Can they do it again, Servo? Can they win again?
Listen, last week I gave out Notre Dame. If you remember, I gave them out to win. I think they were 6-point favorites against Louisville. They obviously lost and got upset outright to Louisville. I'm still not sold on Louisville, though. Honestly, I just am not sold. And
you didn't like Jack Harlow on the field after the game? That didn't sell you.
Listen, well, that result and getting a huge win over Notre Dame, putting themselves on the map, they're undefeated.
Right.
All this hype. This is a letdown spot. They're facing a honestly bad Pittsburgh team. And the spread is just really interesting. 7.5. Like, I'll take Pittsburgh here and the points. Because I do think Pittsburgh could be a little live here. They're coming off their bye week, which I think is beneficial, obviously, for rest and just kind of resetting things after a rough first part of the season. But they also made a quarterback change during the bye week. They moved from Phil Jerkovich. They're now going to Penn State transfer Christian Veyer, and he's now the starter. There's been a lot of good reports that he's this extra week of prep and getting comfortable in the offense could have this Pittsburgh offense being a lot more efficient than it has been to start the season. So I think that's and Louisville's coming in. They're just coming off this Notre Dame game where they had a lot of prep and preparation going for that. Now they have to look at a Pitt offense that new quarterback. They don't know what they're going to get here. And I just think Pitt can keep it close. Louisville 1-3 against the spread as favorites this year against FBS teams, and 0-3 against the spread when the spread has been 10 points or less too, when they've been favored. So I see this at 7.5. I like to get it, that it's just under over a touchdown too for Pittsburgh to kind of keep this one close and really push them. I feel like it should be a one-score game late. And another game, it's going to be rainy and windy for this game. So I think that could slow down the Louisville offense, which has explosive guys. But I feel like Pittsburgh's really going to just muck this game up and try to really force Louisville to be perfect offensively, which I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, give me Louisville or give me Pitt as the underdogs here.
Oh, spicy Servo. We should call this the spicy Servo spicy 7 after that pick. Let's round it out. Let's give our last pick out here to my home state, at least currently, South Carolina, taking on my former state, Florida. Two places I've lived last, or currently and last. South Carolina taking on Florida. What do we got for this one?
Well, I'm with you. I'm going to your current state here. Give me South Carolina to win outright. You can look at the spread, but I just like getting their money line -130, not worry about the spread. Florida comes in. They're on the road here. They've lost 13 of their last 14 games away from home, going back now last year and the year before. And their only win in this spread, they're 1-13 in their last 14 away. Their only win was late last year against the Texas A&M team that was basically quit on the season. They lost 6 games in a row. One of them was to Florida. And I just feel like that you kind of throw that one out. But otherwise, Florida has not been up to par. They've not performed on the road. And I feel like their offense is going to struggle because we've seen them twice on the road this year. And they lost to Utah and Kentucky. And really, their offense got limited in those games. Graham Mertz struggled. South Carolina doesn't have the best defense, but I just feel like they're going to limit and frustrate Graham Mertz. South Carolina, another team coming off a bye week, which is, I think, just something in college football maybe people overlook, don't realize when teams are off in the bye weeks. But South Carolina, with the week off, is going to be well rested. They're getting some key guys healthier too. Florida has a couple injuries to monitor, but I think South Carolina also going to be motivated to get revenge after last year. They lost 38-6 at home against Florida, which was on the road for them. And I think coming back home in this rematch, think they're going to be motivated to kind of get the win, especially because last year Florida had the advantage at quarterback. Anthony Richardson for Florida, he was under center, and it was Spencer Rattler for South Carolina. But this year, Rattler is better than Graham Mertz. So South Carolina has the advantage at quarterback here. And if you look at the records for both these teams, you can see on the screen, Florida's 4-2, South Carolina's 2-3. Like, all right, why isn't Florida favored here? Because you look at Florida, I mentioned their struggles on the road, but also their wins has not been. They've really benefited from a home heavy first half of the season, where a lot of their wins were against easier matchups, easier strength of schedule. South Carolina's losses were on the road to Georgia, on the road to Tennessee, and on the road at North Carolina. Just a lot more battle tested coming in. So yeah, give me the Gamecocks to get this win at home.
Love it. Love it. Let's go South Carolina.
Let's go South Carolina. Coming up later tonight, you can check out Fantasy Alarm. I have Best Bets article, as I always do every week, coming out for other picks that I'm not giving out here. But you got to get the All-Pro subscription over at Fantasy Alarm to get those picks. I got some picks on Auburn LSU. Should be a good game too. And Ohio State Purdue, another good game. So I got picks for those games. But definitely get the All-Pro subscription. You can scan that QR code or go over to fantasyalarm.com/win to get that All-Pro subscription. You get DFS content for tonight's Thursday Night Football. You get DFS playbook for hockey, for NBA season coming up, just everything. Best bets, the lineup generator, league sync for fantasy football, just all this stuff. Questions, answering your questions one-on-one in the Discord chats too. So definitely jump on the All-Pro subscription. Get my college football DFS playbook for this weekend too, with that All-Pro sub. All right, let's finish out the show with some Braves-Phillies NLDS Game 4 talk and some best bets for this game. We got the Phillies winning last night, so they're up 2-1 in this series. Should be a really good game tonight. Ranger Suarez versus Spencer Strider on the mound for Atlanta. Where are you going with a pick for this game?
I wonder where you're going to go tonight, Servo. I wonder what your lean is here.
Oh, I got the Phillies jersey ready to go.
Game 4 in Philly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Your fans, like, that was the best environment in baseball of this year. That was that looked WBC type stuff like that. I mean, not to the that level, but as close to MLB fans can get to what the WBC looked like was Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Philly, so Ranger Suarez takes the mound, and I don't expect him to necessarily have the longest leash tonight because, let's face it, I think it's let's face facts. I think, Philly understands that their bullpen is their bread and butter, at least it has been. But Ranger Suarez, Servo, so under 1.5 earned runs, his last 6 appearances against the Braves, and this is per Corey Seidman of NBC Sports in Philadelphia. He has gone 30 innings. He's allowed 3 earned runs. He has never allowed more than 1 run in those 6 outings.
Wow.
So obviously, every outing is different. The Braves hit left-handed pitching extremely well. They were the best offense some people have ever seen. At least, people didn't see the 27 New York Yankees. But Ranger Suarez has figured them out. And we saw the 3 2/3 in the first outing against them. I don't expect him to go deep into this game.
Yeah.
So I think before things get rough, I think Ranger Suarez under 1.5 earned runs makes a bunch of sense. And that's my first pick tonight, I think. And that's going to correlate perfectly with my other 2 picks because, I think this is not a very high-scoring game this evening.
Yeah, I like this call. And I looked at Ranger Suarez, couple props, and looked at the under, too, because I don't think he's going to last long in this game. You mentioned 3 2/3 in the game 1. I don't think, his outs prop is at 11.5 or 12.5, wherever you're looking. And he might even go under that because I feel like they're going to have a similar plan where maybe they let him go possibly twice through the lineup and don't let him face, some of those right-handed bats like Riley a third time or maybe even twice he gets any early trouble, I don't think he's going to last too long. They're going to bring in these guys from the bullpen. They have a fully rested bullpen too, and with the game off, the day off tomorrow before a potential Game 5, I feel like, and they have Wheeler going in Game 5. They're going to use plenty of bullpen guys to really shore things up. So yeah, I like the call on Ranger Suarez to go under his prop. I'll go with another Philly here. I'm not going with any money line or anything for the Phillies. I could, but just going to be rooting for the game for them to win. But Bryce Harper, we saw what happened yesterday, right? If you missed it, Orlando Arcia for the Braves, give him a little attaboy, got out, whether it should have or not, it got out, and Harper heard it, and he responded with 2 home runs last night, stared him down,
and
the
stare down was the best. The stare down was better than the home
2
run.
stare downs, too, for Bryce. Listen, he's red hot at the plate. He's now got 3 home runs in this series against the Braves. I don't think the Braves want to face him and let him, hit another ball out of the park, hit multiple balls out of the park again. I don't think they want to deal with this, especially because they're in must-win mode tonight. They need to limit as much run scoring as possible from the Phillies. So I think Harper over a half a walk here, plus 100 on BetMGM is a way to go because I feel like the Braves are going to pitch around him, maybe intentionally walk him. But if there's a base open, especially, in the first inning, I could see Strider pitching around him later in the game too. If they bring in a reliever and just want to kind of not deal with a lefty and Harper and want to face Alec Boehm with a righty, then I could see him, getting intentionally walked. But either way, I just don't think he's going to be pitched to unless Strider really wants to go out there and challenge him. But Harper homered in Game 1 off Strider. So I don't know if they want to do that. And Harper, he didn't walk last night. He was hitting balls out of the park last night, but he walked in both Game 1 and Game 2. Had multiple walks in Game 1. One was against Strider. So I feel like the Braves are gonna just try to play it safe with Harper here. Let other guys beat them.
Dude, in 22 postseason games with your Philadelphia Phillies, for anyone living under a rock, Servo does like the Phillies quite a bit. He has 9 home runs, 18 RBIs, 19 runs. He has a 775 slug. Also, is that a Doc? Is that a Doc Holiday jersey there?
Oh, this is Cole Hamels.
Cole Hamels. Okay, I like that. I mean, not as good as Holiday, but that's respectable. He was a very good Philly. But like Harper has a 775 slug in his Phillies postseason career. Like,
yeah.
Don't pitch to that guy.
He crushed the Braves last year in the NLDS series. So they're playing with fire pitching to him.
Dude, I mean, I get it. Castellanos double donged, and there was the Phillies couldn't miss. Everything was a big hit after big hit last night. But the baseball odds of it happening again. The best hitters in baseball history are 3 for every 10. And I'm not saying Bryce is going to double dong every night, but he's gosh dang doing it every other night at this point for Philadelphia. So, I think that, because Strider, parlaying it into I have 17.5 outs in the over on Strider. I think he's going to pitch Bryce smart. And I think he's going to walk Bryce Harper here and make Nick Castellanos hit 2 home runs again and make Schwarber and all these guys and everyone else in the lineup beat him. So I think Harper walks. I just like Strider a bit. I mean, Strider outside of the Harper home run in Game 1 looked awesome. He shut the Braves down or shut the Phillies down outside of, he gave up 1 earned and the other one was an error. Got through 7 innings and, he's been that guy for the Braves. Now, he does give up home runs. He's allowed 23 of them on the year. And obviously Philly has looked like a different team at home when it comes to home runs. But I love Spencer Strider here. He's been really good against Philadelphia in general this year, 4-1 with the loss coming, in the postseason. He's almost given us 7 innings in every start. 33 innings over 5 starts, the average to just under 7 innings a start. So I like the 17.5 outs for Strider. He pitches 6 innings in his sleep. And he's a guy that, and we've talked about this a couple times on the show, Servo. Like, I know the Braves could, like, considering it's an elimination game, if he's struggling early, maybe go to a bullpen scenario. But, like, he's also maybe their best option just to get outs. Like, he led the league in strikeouts. When he finds his stuff, he's very hard to hit. So I like the Strider over 17.5 outs. So I've gone with 2 pitchers. So, obviously, things to come for my final bet as well.
Well, yeah, let's get right to that. What's your final bet?
Oh, under 8.5 runs. And it's actually moved. I see it at I'm looking at it right now. So minus 120 now on DraftKings. So we're moving. I think this is a pitcher's duel. I think it's going to be Philly's going to be rocking. I think Strider's going to be in form. Suarez is going to be in form. And as soon as Philly goes to the bullpen, that's one of the best bullpens in baseball from top to bottom. Everyone throws 150 miles an hour in your bullpen. So I like one of their pitchers' names. He may or may not have the same name as my son. So I'll go under 8.5, and it's moving. It's moving. No surprise that the under is moving, but I got at 115. You can get at 120 right now over at DraftKings.
I got to go back to your Strider pick because you mentioned it. I feel like there's a chance where they don't let him go too deep if he runs into any early trouble.
It could.
Maybe it might come in the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, but I feel like there's a chance where he doesn't get to 6 innings. Obviously, you mentioned his talent, his track record. The guy can pitch 7 innings and strike out 9 anytime out. But I feel like in the elimination game scenario, I'd be a little worried about just about that with his outs prop. That's only I saw what he did in game 1 though, and if he's rolling like that, they're gonna leave him in and try to let him eat up as much as possible. If he's shutting down the Phillies offense, I could definitely see that.
Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying because I fully agree. It's an elimination game. Like, it's different for Philly where, like, if their bullpen was taxed yesterday, like if Philly had to go bullpen game yesterday and Suarez comes out and gives up 5 earned early, you're like, all right, maybe we get some length and like try to save our bullpen for game 5, where the Braves don't have that luxury. Like, this game decides the series. If they lose, they're out, they're done, they're finished. But like we saw even at the end of that 7th inning, Strider was yelling in the dugout at his head coach, like, let me pitch the 8th. Like, I'm the best option we have. I am cruising right now outside of like an early home run and a run scored on an error later. Like, just looking at his track record against Philly, I mean, he's faced them 3 times since September, and he's gotten 7-7-7, hasn't allowed more than 3 runs, twice has allowed 1 earned run, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Philly really has been great during that time offensively. Like, they hit their stride like August when Trey Turner took off. Like, they hit their stride. Like, Strider's been pretty dominant against them all 3 starts during the midst of this, like, great run that they're on. So where I agree, if he does get in trouble, like, they could just be like, all right, it's not your day. We need to figure something else different out. But his track record against them this year in 5 starts, like, pretty big sample, has been pretty dominant. So I am going to trust the 5 starts that he's made against them this year. I'm not a BVP guy, and I guess this is technically the opposite, but there has been 5 starts. Like, that's a 33 inning sample. Like, we're getting into some good sample sizes here.
All right. Yeah, I do agree on the under. I feel like that it is an under game. I feel like that both teams, especially on the Braves side, are just going to, if there's trouble, especially with any relievers late, they're going to get guys out of there. You're going to get another pitcher in, play matchups, lefties on lefties, that sort of thing. We're going to see a lot of that. So especially once we get to like the 6th, 7th, 8th innings, if, from both bullpens, if it's like, I could see it being like a 3-2 game either way.
Yep.
So I like your call on the under there. All right, so those are some picks for tonight's games. For Thursday Night Football, for this NLDS Game 4, College Football Week 7. If you missed any of those, definitely jump back in. Up next here, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can check out High Stakes Fantasy Football Show with Eric Balkman over on Bettor Sports Network YouTube. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fantasy Alarm YouTube, you can check out the Fantasy Alarm Thursday Game Day Preview with John Mpemba and Andrew Cooper. So keep it locked in on here before Thursday Night Football kicks off tonight with Broncos and Chiefs. We'll be back tomorrow. Howard Bender and I will be giving out some NFL Week 6 picks for Sunday's slate. So definitely tune in there at 4 p.m. Eastern here on Bettor Sports Betting. James, awesome stuff as always on Thursdays. Hopefully all of our bets cash tonight. I think we got similar reads on the Chiefs-Broncos game. So hopefully we're all coming through for that game.
Broncos country.
Let's ride. All right, everyone. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Good luck.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports